What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. Let me just say this. I realize that I'm going to disappoint a lot of my folks in the black community when I make this video. And I'm sorry to y'all in advance. I don't mean to offend nobody. I don't mean to make nobody mad. I love this comedian just as much as y'all do. But it's just a realization that I made as I've gotten older. Y'all ever enjoyed something as a kid, like you died laughing at it as you got older, like when you were younger? You thought it was the most hysterical stuff in the world. But as you got older, you still find it funny, but it's not as funny as it used to be when you were younger. Right? It is not as funny as it once was. And I'm sorry to tell y'all, man, I love the Martin Show. Still to this day, I love this show. But it's not as funny as I remember it being as a kid. Seriously, it's not. And again, to each his own. But as I've gotten older, I've gained a deeper appreciation for the Wayans Brothers show and the Jamie Foxx show more than Martin, for real. Now, for cultural purposes, Martin is just so profound within black culture, within black households. The Martin Lawrence show was beloved, and it's still beloved. I got the DVDs at the crib here, right? But I promise y'all, what made me first realize it was when I'm 18 years old. I'm showing my girlfriend at the time, my daughter's mom. She didn't grow up watching Martin like that, right? She came from a household that was strictly into just going to church. They couldn't really listen to secular music like that. So she didn't really grow up watching the Martin Show. They had blocks on channels. They couldn't watch certain parts of certain TV shows. So as she got older, she started to discover certain things. When she told me she hadn't really watched the Martin Show, I say, man, what? And I remember when I was getting ready to go to college at Mississippi Valley State University, I'm in Walmart or Target. Target or Walmart, I think it was Target. And Target had the Martin DVDs. And I said, oh my God, I gotta get these. So I got them so I can have something to watch when I'm in school, because streaming services they weren't around or popular in 2011 when I first went to school. I bring the DVDs back home. My girlfriend come over. We watching Martin. And I'm trying, when you anticipate somebody to laugh at a joke and you just really waiting for their reaction. She laughing, but she ain't cackling like I used to cackle. So it made me watch the show more attentively. And I'm like, yeah, it's funny. But it's not as funny like I used to be. I'm talking about rolling over crying laughing at Martin. What I realized, though, what it's due to is that as I've gotten older, and I was 18, and I remember becoming more enlightened and more mature, for real, when I started hitting 17, 18, my maturity level started to rise, and my taste in certain things started to change due to certain maturity level, and me becoming more, again, it ain't like, oh, I'm so educated, I'm Princeton, and I'm Harvard-based, and nothing is funny, none of that Negro-based comedy is hilarious to me, none of that. It's just as I've gotten older, I didn't really appreciate. I don't really have a strong taste for slapstick comedy. Slapstick comedy is kind of like action based. A person doing backflips all around the screen on TV, people slapping each other, hitting each other upside the head, tripping somebody falling downstairs. That type of stuff don't really make me laugh like that as much as it used to when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, that shit was comical for me. But as an adult, it don't hit the same. Like one of the biggest episodes, one of my favorite episodes as a kid of Martin was when they was in, they went on the resort. And he said, Gina, that ain't no damn puppy, right? But that ain't no dog or no puppy. It was supposed to be a rat, and Martin wrestling on the ground doing the goddamn people's elbow on top of the rat. That as a little kid, I thought that shit was so funny, y'all. I was out of breath laughing. As a grown man, I laugh, but it's nowhere near the same type of laughter I used to have as a kid for it, right? I would also say I remember episodes where Martin was dressed up as Mama Payne. And there was one time I think Mama Payne bit the damn stocking off of Gina's leg and was doing backflips all around the house. As a kid, that shit was hilarious to me. Now I find it funny, but it's not as funny as it once was to me, right? Like stuff like that, Mama Payne doing backflips all across the house. And the puppy, Martin jumping on the puppy. Now, the scene with the Nino Brown, the new Jack City scene, that is still funny to me, right? I don't know what it is. That scene is still funny. But there's a lot of other stuff that I didn't really, it's funny, but it ain't making me laugh as much as it used to, because the physical comedy aspect, I'm not really into that. And Martin wasn't solely physical comedy. But I even feel like the jokes on the Jamie Foxx show aged better than the jokes on Martin's show. I really do. And I feel like, I don't know, it's just, I feel like that, like Jamie Foxx shit, man. I promise y'all, when that woman goes and try to sue the King's Tower, that's where Jamie Foxx and his people work the hotel, and she act like she slipped and fell. She gets in front of the judge and she say, Your Honor, I was a beautiful woman before this incident. She had a neck brace on. I was a really beautiful woman before this incident. And Jamie Foxx say, I object. And she say, on what grounds? And Jamie say, she's all right. I promise y'all, I was dying. I'm dying to this day. When Jamie tell Braxton, his breastman, like he been eating boo-boo burgers, fool, what? That shit, when they go, like, I don't know, that shit is hilarious. The jokes on Jamie Foxx show, I don't know, it still hit the same to me. And I feel like as I've gotten older, the jokes on Martin, they're funny, but they're not quite as funny as they used to be, for real. And I noticed it first time when I was watching it with my daughter mom, right? And as I've gotten older, again, the less appreciation I have for certain slapstick type comedy. That's why certain stuff, when I say slapstick comedy, it ain't always just hitting people upside the head. Like, Tyler Perry got some real slapstick type comedy shit, like In That Boo and Boo 2. A lot of that shit wasn't funny. And you know what I'm saying? Some of it was, but a lot of it wasn't. You know, and you like, because it's really slapstick, like lowbrow humor. Lowbrow like humor, and honestly, I hate to say it, a lot of Martin's jokes was based in lowbrow humor. Now, people would say a lot of black comedy is kind of like lowbrow humor sometimes, a lot of popular black comedy. But I don't know, Jamie's shit was a little, I don't know, the jokes matured better to me than it did on Martin's show. And I love Martin. You'll still see me with Martin themed shirts and I still love the show. But Jamie Foxx still it doesn't feel as dated as the Martin show does in certain type of jokes they have. Some of the jokes feel look dated, it didn't age as well. But I had a deeper appreciation for like even the Wayans brothers. I like the Wayans brothers more as an adult than I did as a kid, right? Even certain comedy like Bernie Mac show. I love the Bernie Mac show. My daughter, she found the Bernie Mac show a couple of years ago and she about 9 or 10. She found the Bernie Mac show. Bernie didn't even have no laugh track in his stuff to let you know this is your cue to laugh or nothing like that at all. But like it was just so hilarious. That episode when Bernie finds out Jordan is doing gymnastics and he kind of struggles with it, but he becomes more like accepting when he figures out, okay, Jordan, his nephew Jordan, Bernie Mac's nephew Jordan probably doing some real manly stuff. He lifting himself up on the beams. He pulling himself up through all the gymnastics, showing his brute strength. He like, okay, I'm accepting of this, right? So he goes to Jordan's gymnastic performance and he sees Jordan twirling the ribbon like a little ballerina, twirling around, hopping around, twirling the ribbon like a ballerina hopping around. And he got his boys at the damn at the gymnastics event with him, and he go, Jamie in there embarrassed as hell. I mean, not Jamie. Bernie in there embarrassed as hell. Bernie go, he couldn't believe this shit, because now he like, oh my God, my son looked like a fairy. My nephew looked like a fairy dancing around, twirling the ribbon. Right? That is hilarious to me, because I remember as a kid, man, I came from, like I told you, I come from a father who's really rooted in patriarchy, right? An old school black man. I remember my mama made me a Easter basket when I was like 8. And inside of the Easter basket, it was all different type of candy, all type of stuff. But in the Easter basket, it was like a little jump rope that came in there. I'm opening my stuff and like, look at what I got, Dad. Look at what I got. My daddy saw that dang on jump rope up in there, pulled it up out of there, threw it in the garbage. And I was like, why you throw it in the garbage? In my mind, I didn't register. See, my dad's mind went straight to double dutch. Me double dutching outside with some girls and me like being feminine double dutching with some girls or something crazy. My mind instantly went to boxers jumping rope because I was watching boxing with my uncles and them as a kid. So I didn't even think about double dutch. I'm thinking about, oh, jumping rope like the boxers, like I see Evander Holyfield do, like I see Roy Jones do, like I see Mike Tyson them do, right? And my dad went straight to like double dutch, hell no, do it in the garbage. So when I see that scene with Jordan and Bernie Mac, and Bernie Mac being appalled that Jordan is a ribbon twirler in the damn gymnastics and he just can't believe it, it's hilarious to me because I think about my dad in that situation, right? But yeah, though, I feel like the more I've gotten older, I don't really like certain lowbrow humor. Like him and Pam ragging on each other. It's some funny jokes within it. But some of the jokes ain't really age that well like that. Because again, comedy is more advanced now. Certain things aren't as funny. But some of it sometimes, I remember one part when Martin joined the cult. And he was like trying to they tried to get him out of the cult. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm paraphrasing. But he said something like, I'm sorry, you guys are going to have to leave your camel outside. Call Pam a camel. Because he was still in character as a dude that was in that cult. But to still hear him rag on Pam in that situation, you guys are going to have to leave your camel parked outside or something. I was dying. But it was other instances when I'm watching the show and him and Pam going back and forth. Some of that get a little tired. They get a little old at times, right? I'm watching the Martin show and I'm like, oh, this feels a little tired. This feels a little dated now. It's them going back and forth all the time. It kind of feel a little, now Hustle Man and Bruh Man from the Fifth Flow, because I'll throw the fourth finger, from the Fifth Flow, that shit is still hilarious, right? And again, I use Martin as influence because I was on a radio station and I was in school. I had my own radio show. And I felt like Martin Lawrence on WZUP. You hear me? What's up? Right? I feel like Martin when I had my radio show. But again, I think some of the humor is a little lowbrow and slapstick based, and it's not as funny because my taste for comedy matured as I matured and as I got older. You know what I mean? Which is why certain Dave Chappelle comedy as a youth did not hit hard to me as a kid, but as an older man, I have a deeper appreciation with it. I like it a lot more because now I'm more mature and I understand certain comedy. As a kid, I like N-word comedy. Y'all know what I'm talking about when I say N-word comedy. I only like that type of comedy. Where the comedy saying motherfucker, bitch, all that all the time, right? As you get older, your taste for comedy changes and switches. You like other different things. And again, too, I like hearing cursing because it was so provocative, but I heard cursing so much in my household, y'all. Like, cursing do not wow me because I grew up around cursing all the time. My mama, my grandma, my daddy all cuss like sailors. You hear me? Curse like the comedians like Bernie Mac and them y'all like to see. So cursing never wows me for a comedian. Never like, oh my God, because I came from a household full of that. You know what I'm saying? So, and I didn't even curse that much when I was a kid for real. Rarely curse. So now I be saying stuff because it be just, sometimes I'll be like, I don't know. Either you get older, you just start getting more like your people sometimes or whatever, but I still ain't got nothing on them. But yeah, man, I just feel like Martin's show didn't age as well as like maybe Jamie Foxx show did. Because it's still funny. I still love the show, but it's not as funny as I remember. It really not, man. And y'all let me know if maybe it's just me. I'm not saying I don't love the Martin show. I'm not saying it's trash. I'm not saying I don't like it. I just feel like Jamie Foxx and them show aged better because Jamie had some better one-liners to me. Some better jokes to me. There was more like, it wasn't really, it was comedy. It wasn't like intellectual comedy on the show. But it wasn't as lowbrow as sometimes the Martin show's humor could be. Even though Jamie dressed up as different people and the little reporter and all of that. I don't know, man. It just didn't. Jamie Foxx show, the comedy on the show, doesn't feel as dated as comedy on the Martin show. Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace.